Hello folks and welcome back to Medieval Total War. I'm Conostip and this is going to be part 2 of my early campaign when playing as France. And in the last episode I did eliminate the English, and however I did lose Flanders, which is that was unexpected. In all of my practice attempts I had never lost Flanders. That I suppose just comes down to the way that I had moved my forces around. Just must have been a little bit different than how I had moved them around in my previous attempts. I must have had just like an extra unit or two in Flanders, and that would have been all that it took to keep the English from invading. So I just want you to know, if you're kind of looking at this campaign as like a guide, for instance, that there's a pretty easy way to do that. You just have to like do it a little bit differently than the way that I did it. So you might have to practice that a little bit. It's just ironic that in all of my practice attempts, I was just, I don't know, instinctively like did it the right way. And then when I'm recording, I did it the wrong way. Now, of course, I hadn't practiced this campaign in quite some time since before I started recording. So like I was pretty rusty. That's not ideal, but that's just how things worked out. Now the question, so like that could be big. Flanders is my biggest money maker. I was making like 650 maybe. So it was a lot. So I'm losing at least one turn of income from that. And also I had invested in building that fort there. So I'd invested in 400 florins in a fort that has just been canceled. I have to rebuild that fort. I have to repay for that fort. So that's all bad. In addition to that, this may be the opening that the Germans need. They have enough forces potentially in Lorraine. I don't know what they have in Lorraine. I don't know what they have in Friesland at all, but they could potentially attack Flanders and not have to fear inviting an international, war against an actual faction. They can't just be picking off a rebel faction. So yeah, it's a little bit problematic for sure. In addition to that, by attacking Flanders, I'm going to be going to war against the rebels. And that counts for all of the rebel factions on the map, all of the rebel provinces on the map, so that when I'm trading any province that's held with like a rebel port, I can't trade with that port, which is not ideal. Now I can get what's called an auto ceasefire with any faction really, including the rebels, and that is if you don't border them and if you don't have any boats that are in sea regions that border their territory. So that is possible if you don't border them. But in this case, I'm not going to be getting that auto ceasefire because the rebels are going to be holding, all of England as well. So it's a little bit problematic. I'm also going to have to keep an eye on a possible reemergence from the English. Now, in my own provinces that used to be English held, that being Aquitaine, Anjou, and Normandy, the key is to keep my population loyalty above 120%. 100% won't cut it. It has to be over 120%. To make sure that reemergence does not happen in my own territories that were previously held by the English. However, in rebel territories, we don't have that control. Rebel territories always defaults to 100% loyalty. It's always going to be there. So there's always a chance then of that reemergence happening. Actually, shit, come to think of it, since the English did technically hold Flanders, I don't know how that works because they held it, but then they died in that same turn, so that was kind of complicated. So that's another place where I might have to, make sure that public loyalty is over 120%. And then in England, since I have no control over it, and I don't really intend to attack into England, now that you could very well say that's not a meta strategy, but I just played an England campaign, and I don't really want to play just the same campaign twice, because in that campaign I, conquered France and the Levant and kind of called it good. And here I would like to kind of, do some more different things. Maybe take out the Pyrenees, Aragon, and the Navarre. Maybe just for something different. They're nice regions to have. They're not rich, but they do have iron in them, which allows you to upgrade your weapons. Iron is not that common on this map. Kind of a funny one. Like you get it in Aragon, Navarre, Castile, Leon. And then Central Europe has like, gosh, I can't remember. Yeah, I don't really have it memorized. I know Hungary has iron, I think. And there might be a couple other places. And then basically like the entire southeast corner plus the south, like there's like no iron anywhere here. And I can't remember about Italy. Yeah, I haven't played Italy yet, so yeah, it's not common, and you need iron, as I said, to upgrade your weapons. So like you can play entire campaigns, as I have, without ever upgrading my weapons. And it could be kind of nice to go back to upgrading my weapons again. That's a nice boost to have. So now I did lose a couple governors in that last battle, the governors of Champagne and Anjou, and really this is an opportunity for me to try to find someone with some dread on him to improve. In fact, I mean, these are the two places that are... Oh, they're actually okay. Did I change something? Did I lower? Oh. I thought that they were just like in the yellow, but they're both fine. Anyway, I'll still look for a governor, obviously, in these places. Looking for a combination of dread and acumen is like going to be ideal. So since Champagne is at 65% zeal, which I think we just had that True Cross thing that happened, that event, that's going to be raising zeal in France. So I see I have a 6 piety, 1 dread, 3 acumen. These are guys, all three of these guys have 1 dread, 3 acumen. The only difference is going to be the piety, really. So giving him Champagne seems like a good idea. So we're looking at 109% loyalty. And this is going to give a 1 point of loyalty to him. And that raised it by 11%. So yeah, not bad for that. Not bad. And then for Anjou, 51% zeal is probably enough for that to be important. So let's give it to him. It's going to raise his loyalty as well by 1, which is nice. So we're looking at 123% loyalty for him. And that raised it by 5, so I'll take it. And we are going to be assaulting this garrison in Aquitaine. Yeah, the irony, I get it. The irony being that I let a lot of the enemy run away at the end of that battle, thinking like, yeah, sure, I'll just, let them have it be a really short siege, which is what I got. It's going to be a 2-turn siege, but I just figured, then I, realized, I should probably just kind of nip it in the bud. Fight the battle, get it over with. I have 4 archers and 2 ballistas, so I can do a lot of damage from outside the settlement. In fact, I can probably just kill everyone inside with just my archers, and my ballistas won't do much, but they can at least like knock down the walls and the door, and then we can get inside. So yeah, the question then is going to be, can I actually take Flanders? There's 3 archers, 1 peasant. Can I actually take Flanders with what I have is 3 urban militia and 1 archer? Now, obviously, when I get into a melee, I will have the advantage there. But urban militia, as I've said before, are very lightly armored, and they have no shield. Look at them. That's what they wear. It's very... Ugh. They're a very good target for archers. Very, very much so. And these are my 2 really good generals. I don't want to lose them to an arrow. That would suck. That would really suck. So it's tempting, it is, to like spend a turn to train up another unit to attack in with an extra unit, say another archer maybe, another urban militia maybe. I can screen, obviously, with an archer unit. I can put them in front, put them in loose formation. Loose formation does make units have an automatic like -2 morale modifier, but it makes it so that they're, harder to hit with projectiles. So there's some give and take there. Just, the -2 morale modifiers, more so that it kind of demonstrates that they're, bad in a melee fight. But yeah, if you are going to be screening a force that you need to get into melee, then that's the way I like to do. A lot of people like to use it for like missile duels, and I usually don't do that because I prefer keeping units like if I have the missile superiority, I prefer to have all my missile units in more of like a compact area so that they can concentrate their fire and then win that point of contact with my ranged units, like on whatever section of the battlefield which I'm trying to break. And by having the spread out loose formations, I just, they don't all, the whole formation might not be in range of the thing that you're shooting at. And I get that you take less casualties, but if I already have superiority, I'm trying to win. I'm not trying to lose slower, you know, so. But in this case, it's more about a lose slower situation. I'm not going to win a missile shooting contest with 1 archer versus 3. So it'd be about screening with a loose formation archer, trying to get my 3 urban militia, ideally, you know, into contact with their guys and shoving them back. And then hopefully breaking them. Maybe I can even get... Maybe I can get a fight in the rain as well. That would be in my favor. So yeah, let's do this. I really would like to wait to train up another unit and then attack next turn, but I can't know what the Germans are going to do. And I don't see this is the thing, like losing Flanders like this, it could have cascading consequences. It really could. If we end up with a war with the Germans, which that never happened in any of my practice campaigns, then what happens or like the rest of my strategy? I have open borders all along my front with the Germans. Toulouse and you has 2 peasants. Ile-de-France has nothing. Champagne has nothing. What happens then? You know, so I have a guy who's talking to a guy trying to get an alliance, and I have a gal talking to a guy trying to get a marriage alliance. Until that happens, you know, I don't know what's going to happen here. So yeah, it's a little bit dicey. Hopefully this doesn't bite me in the ass. Anyway, so forts are going to be finished here in Champagne, and we started building it in Anjou. That's going to be finished in this turn as well. This fort's probably going to be demolished in the sacking of the settlement, which sucks. There's nothing I can do about that. So we're probably going to lose the fort. Hopefully we can keep, I don't know if I think the farm upgrades doesn't get sacked, which is the same as in Rome. So I might be right about that. Might be wrong. I guess we'll find out. And Normandy. Do I want to build something in Normandy now? I suppose I should start building a fort. Yeah. Yes. Let's get going on that. So I'm training something there in Ile-de-France, and I think that is it. I can check some taxes, make a little bit more money if I can. Well, also making sure that there's no... Yeah, I want to keep this over 120% in, yes, Normandy, Anjou, Flanders. Yeah, very important. Let us now drop a save and dive on into the next turn. Let's cross our fingers and hope that the Germans don't attack Flanders. And yeah, here we go. So they outnumber us by 40 men, but I have good that 6-star general. I did check before the battle. So 6 stars, obviously, that's going to be giving a lot of command and morale and, you know, fighting bonuses and all that good stuff. Also, he does have the natural leader trait, which is giving +2 morale in addition to all of those bonuses. So my guys should fight like demons. It's just a matter of, you know, keeping him alive. And him too. The 5-star is also very good. So I don't want to lose either of those two guys. Very dicey. I'm very nervous about this. So let's kind of pray for some rain. Damn, I didn't get any rain. That's unfortunate. So let's attack. Now, with that being said, there's many instances where I've gotten the fine weather and then it just starts raining, like during the battle. And I mean, not even like halfway through the battle. I mean, just like during deployment. The weather is very sporadic and random in this game, which can make using firearm units later in the game a bit trickier. Now, what I am liking is this forest. This forest starts right next to our deployment zone, and it walks us right into their deployment zone. So that's very nice. Now, with that being said, they could just kind of deploy, you know, like far enough away where it's... See, that's a big enough gap in between those two places. So I'm kind of tempted to split my guys up, just so that I can make sure that I'm hitting them from both sides. Yeah, that's what I'm tempted to do here. I also hate that I have no way of knowing. So this is obviously my general, but then out of these other 2 urban militia units, I have no way of knowing which one is the 5-star general. They are completely identical. They both have 3 points of valor. You can tell that because they have the 3 smaller flags on them. And yeah, it's very frustrating because I wanted to go, all right, general plus the non, 5-star general urban militia together, whoever you are. And then Archer plus the other 5-star general on the other side. That's what I wanted to do, but now I just have no freaking idea, so wish me luck. Well, it turns out they're actually starting kind of more forward than I expected them to. So instead of going for this forest, they can cover that distance very well. I mean, I can't get into that forest without getting shot by them. I'm just going to throw my plan completely out the window here and just go into this forest. It kind of looks like they're marching on me, so they feel confident. And also their general was that peasant unit. Ooh, oh shit, okay. That's fancy. Yeah, so if I can push... Man, yeah, they're bringing their archers right up on me. So if I can send 2 units... I might send, 2 units after the peasants. And then have the other 2 just kind of pressure the archers. That way with their general killed, that'll lower their morale, obviously. And I might just have you guys start to run because I want to get you guys in that forest. Although, shit, they've actually like marched very close to us. So I might just completely change my plan again and go after them. Let's put you on that. Go on a loose formation. And yep, you just run up. And you pressure here. You go on loose formation and you just jump on in as well. And yeah, not the way that I drew this up at all with my freaking general leading the charge. That's not how I wanted this to go, but we're driving these 2 units off, and now you jump in here. And you jump in as well. Where's their general? Is he just hanging out in the forest? So let's go back to close formation, and that therefore we don't take those morale penalties. And yeah, we're driving them off. That feels good. Now, the peasant general seems pretty content to just hang out here in the forest and watch his men die. So I want to keep an eye on him. If I can just run these archers off the map without him getting engaged, that's fine with me. Yeah, he just wants to hang out there. That's fine with me. We'll just chase these guys to the ends of the map if we have to. Yeah, this unit did a good job. So they've run them off. So I think, yeah, they're off the field, essentially. So now you run in and try to trap these guys, because these guys are doing a good job of trying to really just run me around the map. This is where it gets so haggard, not having any cav to do this with. So nope, I told you to come over here. Don't know why you're... I know you did a good job, but there's more work to be done. So yeah, if we can try to... Let's see if we can surround these guys. Here we go. Yeah, they stop to fire. You get in there. You get a charge in. There you go. You just keep on flanking around. And then you keep flanking around as well. Now, he's in trouble, so I don't want, 1 urban militia fighting 2 archers because, again, these guys are pretty fragile, so... There we go. That's the break. They're running away. Okay, that's that. Looks like we are going to get these 2 guys out of here. That is okay so far. And the good news is, so I know that my general hasn't died yet, right? And the other 2 urban militia units, the ones that has the other general in it, this guy's lost 0 men, and then that guy has lost 8 men. So the chances are still high that we should still have, all of our guys left. Right? So, yeah, they're good to go. That's all good. You can catch your breath for a minute because you've been running around everywhere. And now we just have to march on to that peasant unit that's been hanging out in the forest this entire time. And then we should be good. Oh, hell yeah. So it looks like that peasant general just dipped it anyway. Yeah, he didn't want anything to do with that. All right. All right, fingers crossed. Come on. Come on. Oh, we're not going to find out until we have to fight this frickin' siege battle first. We're not going to find out if all of our guys have lived. But we took back Flanders. Huzzah. So here we are, Castle Assault. And yeah, so fun fact, when you fight 2 battles that's like in the northern hemisphere, well, I guess it's all in the northern hemisphere, but like in, I guess, anywhere that's north of Iberia, I suppose, the second battle is always going to be a winter battle, so that's pretty neat. Don't get too many of those in this game, at least I don't. I don't fight that many battles in the same turn. Sometimes I do, but here we go. As I was saying before, I think that I can get this done with probably just my archers and my ballistas. So let's go. Okay, this weather is pretty hilarious. Calm becoming calmer later on. What? Oh dear. Before that, it was all like blizzards and heavy rain, and I was like, sure, of course we're gonna get freaking bad weather in a fight where I'm gonna be heavily dependent on my archers. But in any case, so this is kind of an interesting little thingy here, a little village on the way to the main gate. You don't see that too often. I might like that approach, actually. Might give me a little bit of cover from the enemy. The enemy does have their own archers inside, and of course, again, for those of you who are new, the fortifications are going to have like invisible archers shooting from the walls here. So without, like, you might think, hey, there's no towers. No, they don't need the towers. They just can shoot from wherever. And I think that the keep also shoots arrows. I think it's one of those things. It's just one of those things you think I should know, but I've gotten to the point. There's certain like details in this game. Same with Shogun, and I'm sure with Rome as well, where I've gone back and forth and thinking that I know the answers so many times that I'm just like, I don't know. I am never going to know that. I'm just going to always go back and forth on it. So with ballistas, in as dog shit as they are, and I don't think I've really talked about them yet, so in this campaign, so I may as well talk about them. So like, at least in Rome, a ballista can, like, if it's shooting at a formation of dudes, it can take out a couple dudes. Which makes sense, right? It's a big ass spear being tossed at the enemy. So that kind of makes sense. And that was the idea of a ballista as an anti-personnel weapon. Right? You know, it's not something that you'd really be using to take down, you know, walls or towers. Not that I'm aware of, at least. So in this game, it's pretty dog shit, because for one thing, it does not take out multiple units at all. It just won't do that. It'll only, if it hits one person, it just kills that one person. And you might think, all right, well, that's, you know, as long as it like kills that one person, that's fine. But the accuracy is such dog shit. Like, it's just really, you might like it just hitting the gate is kind of a tough thing. You're like, holy shit, it did it. So in this case, it actually can outrange the invisible archers on top of the walls. It's a very niche use. It is. And I'm using it for, you know, it's, as I was just saying, like, not its historically intended purpose. I'm using it to destroy fortifications in this case. But I can actually open the gate and open a section of the wall with ballistas. Now, is that necessary when I have archers? No, not at all. Archers will automatically default to flaming arrows when they're shooting at a wooden fortification. Wooden, just, you know, just wooden, so like not, you know, stone walls or anything like that. But archers can just burn this shit down. And any infantry, in fact, actually can just like go up to it and like hack it down with their sticks, and they'll like throw some flaming torches at it and whatever. So like, you don't need to use ballistas at all for this. It's just that it'll save you from a couple of volleys from the invisible archers. It's very niche. The flaming arrow archer fire volleys are very efficient. They will burn down that wall very quickly. So like, they'll only take a couple of shots from those invisible archers anyway. I'm just doing this because I freaking have them, and I may as well save myself those couple of volleys. So go ahead and humor me. Sure enough, as I was talking, it's going to start snowing again. So let me get Let me get going here. Alrighty then, let's go ahead and have this guy start to shoot down that gate. And then you can start shooting down that part of the stockade. Did we hit it? Yep, 7% damage. You know what's really funny? So I was watching Count MRVHS's campaign. I can't remember. It might have been his French campaign, actually. And he was defending Constantinople later on, like very late in the campaign. It was one of his last episodes. And he was defending it from a siege attack. The enemy had some... They had a ballista, actually. Yeah, they had a ballista. And this is Constantinople. Like, he had... I don't know if it was a fortress, but it was at least a citadel. At least. You know, very big walls, thick walls, just, you know, all the fixings on them. And you're looking at this ballista and you're thinking, like, alright, that's not going to do shit. And I know, you know, I knew what the number was. I knew it did 7% per shot on, like, this shit, because this is what I've used it on. So like, I was watching that video, that battle with Count MRVHS, and I was like, alright, well, there's no way those ballists are going to get in. But the damage is the same. It doesn't matter. It's 7% against this, and then it's 7% per shot against a fucking, like, thick stone wall. I almost fell out of my seat laughing. It was so funny. To me, I thought it was funny. for Count, he was like, you know, like, I think I created an opening in the wall. Like, you had to defend a fucking, you know, an entrance that was made by a ballista. I was like, it's like, what? How'd that happen? So, there you go. That's it. There, I'm talking myself into uses for a ballista. Like, that actually will do something. But you see how it came up short right there? Like, it still misses sometimes. You're like, you could hit anything. He has a smaller target. He has to just hit that entire stockade. Something that I have experimented with only once before, but this is a viable thing to experiment with, which is that Valor should be increasing accuracy of units. There has been some experiments done on this in Shogun, and I'm sure this game as well. And the question then is, like, would that be increasing the accuracy of siege weapons? Now, I only ran like a test once, and the way this works then is that for each 2 stars that a general has, that's going to be giving 1 point of valor to every unit on the battlefield, well, every friendly unit on the battlefield. And every 1 point of star, I hear some people say that the odd numbers don't matter, which isn't true. The odd numbers, what that means is that for every 1 star, they're giving 1 point of valor to units within a certain radius, say 50 meters, you know, whatever that means in video game terms. But like, that was probably what this is, right? He's probably within that range. So he's a 3-star general. He's probably giving 3 points of valor with whatever accuracy boost that entails to this guy. And for going off of the numbers right here, I mean, heck,
the enemy's gate is broken.
He opened the gate,
soldiers are in the castle.
You know, well before he opened this part of the stockade. So, yeah, there might be something to that. Now I'm just going to start targeting the soldiers inside with my ballistas and watch them not hit anything. And I'm serious, they probably won't hit anything. We'll check at the end of the battle. But you're still working on that stockade, and, you know, I may as well just speed up time and just see what they can do. You know, it's really too bad also, because artillery units do give a extra negative morale, like a specific morale modifier to units from getting shot at by artillery. So normal range units will be giving like -2 morale to units, I believe, from getting shot at by like archers and crossbows and whatever. For guns, I think it's -6, and then I think for artillery, is it also -6? I can't quite remember. I haven't looked at the numbers in so long. And so you could almost like start to kind of, you know, if you squint hard enough, you can almost see utility for, you know, these early game artillery pieces. But the problem is that for that morale modifier to take effect, you have to at least kill or hit 1 guy in that unit. And that, otherwise they won't be taking that morale hit. And it's like, oh, man, that's tough. Like, first off, should have made the accuracy a bit better on these units. Secondly, you know, I think that units should be taking a morale modifier, even if artillery shots are getting close to them, you know, because imagine, right? Like, imagine. That would scare the absolute living shit out of you if a giant spear like went flying by your head. Even if it didn't kill anyone, it just, you'd still be like, oh shit, get down. You know, like, it's too bad. I feel like that wouldn't have been too difficult to just have in this game. Well, that's going to be it for my ballista ammo, and watch me just go against the thing that I was just saying, and watch me just use my... See, that's not so bad. Put them in that formation. That's okay. So yeah, I'll use a loose formation in this case. Just do that, then, whoa, what am I doing? And do that. I was trying to use a right click. Yeah, that's what happens when you play Rome Total War and Medieval Total War at the same time. Get those right click, left clicks mixed up. So yeah, we can just march these guys forward, and these guys are going to demolish, just absolutely demolish the archers inside, and probably everything else. I don't know. There's a lot of troops inside. That's a decent little chunk, but still. Okay, see like this? Only the first couple of rows are shooting? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. Let's actually close this up. And that way that second group will be able to shoot a bit better. Let's get you shooting as well. And I'm assuming the only... Yeah, let's get you guys like that. And go back to shooting. Alright, so they're going to move back. So yeah, you come forward. And go back into loose formation. I should probably bring up my king and my spearmen and my peasants just in case. They do have these 8 hobblers inside. I don't know if they're going to be charging them out. But just in case.
Enemy general has been slain.
That's it for the hobblers.
Body is being borne away.
Yeah, so that unit got wiped out, and now we just have a handful of peasants and archers, and some urban militia, and that's going to be it. Well, that's going to be for my arrows, and I actually did not have enough to get the job done, so let's send in the peasants. They're going to be going in from that side, and spearmen are going to be going in from this side. And let's go ahead and send the archers in as well, just in case. Yep, you guys get in. You guys get in. And don't worry, man, the king is here. Peasants, what are you doing? Did I tell you to attack that? Alright, well, let's not attack the building. I think it is shooting arrows, though. Is it not? I feel like sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. And yeah, there's no one inside. I don't think. Those guys are just glitching through. The king is rushing on in to fight some archers over here. Hopefully he does not die. I don't think he has an heir that has come of age yet. Actually, no, I think he's coming of age in this turn. So if the king dies, I think that we would actually just be okay. But definitely not ideal, you know. It's always nice to have a backup. So what do we got here? 3 peasants left on this side and a couple dudes on that side. So we're just cleaning these guys up. That's going to do it. Let's see. Did my ballista kill any... Holy shit, this ballista hit one guy. He killed one guy. Wow. Yeah, they're pretty atrocious, aren't they? So hey, we yeah, Aquitaine, we did pillage 300 florins. I would have rather just like kept the buildings. I would have, you know, it's too bad that's just kind of like an automatic thing. I am glad that in Rome Total War and every Total War after that, they kind of left it up to the player to decide what to destroy. I understand this, you know, kind of leaving it like it's random, you know, like you don't get to choose who your men are destroying and whatnot. I get it, except that commanders could have some control. It depended. It really did. There, you know, were instances where leaders and commanders and whatnot would, you know, like say like not this building, and it's like a church or something or some administrative thing, or you know, I don't know. So stuff like, there were instances where, you know, they could kind of put their foot down and say like, nope, you know, we're not fucking doing that. But then there were definitely times it depended on the will of the leader, really. You know, that's what it was. All right, so again, for those of you who are new to the game, this is one of those like mechanics in this game that really does feel unfinished. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in this game. There's just kind of thrown in there because no one told them no, which I can respect. But definitely, this is one of those things that if you're trying to like cut corners on your budget, this is where you just go like, do we have the time to finish it? Is the answer no? Okay, let's just not do it. And so why am I saying that? Well, it doesn't mean anything really. As far as I can tell, this means very, very little. If not, it's not nothing, but very, very little. So rebels captured. You have captured a number of rebels. Their lands have been confiscated, but now you must decide their fate. Number of men captured. This is here in Flanders, of course. And value of confiscated lands, 112. Don't know what that means. I don't know what that number means. And yeah, nobles captured, 0. Yeah, right. So so do we execute them all, or execute the ringleaders, or release them all? My understanding is that execute is going to be giving, I don't know if it's this general or if it's my king. I would imagine it's this general is going to be giving him dread, and it's going to take him down a trait line, because there's a line they like get better or worse as you go along. And it's going to take him down a line that if you just keep doing these and keep executing, it's like fine, but then it gets like bad, and you eventually don't want to go down. Like it gets bad. And then the same thing with the release them all. He has like a mercy trait, so it's like +10 happiness, and then that also kind of gets bad after a while. And then execute the ringleaders, I think it's just straight neutral. It does nothing, no dread, no mercy trait or anything. But there's a few reasons why this is like a really janky, unfinished kind of mechanic. First off, this is just for rebel territories. This is not for anyone else's land. As if you recall, we never got this message when we were attacking the English. This is only for rebel territory. So like you have to be getting like fighting a lot of rebel territories with the same general for any of this to matter. But even the decision itself really seems very superfluous, because that mercy trait thing of like +10 happiness, that's exactly the same as dread. Dread, 1 point of dread is the same as like 1 thing of mercy. +10 happiness. It's the same effect. So if you just like, are you conquering so many rebel territories with the same general that you don't want to go too far down a line, you can maybe like balance it a little bit, do 1 here and 1 there, and then maybe do the ringleader so we don't go too, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like, it matters so little. And even then, that's like, what? For that general who might not even be a governor. So none of this would matter then, because dread's just for happiness in this game. I know a lot of Medieval 2 players keep wanting to think that dread causes morale debuffs in the enemies. That's just Medieval 2. That's not a Medieval 1 thing. So we're just looking at the loyalty, provincial loyalty, and if he's not even a governor, it doesn't even matter. The provinces are so easy to keep happy at a certain point of the game, and I don't even mean late game. I mean just like early game. You get to a point where it's like just automatic. Provinces, you'll just never have issues with them really. There's so many buildings that increase loyalty and happiness, and there's so many ways to fix those issues that this really doesn't mean anything. So for now I'll just like release them all, and you might get a happiness thingy and an heir matures, so Prince Felipe, and yes, he is my faction's only heir, so he will take over the crown when my monarch dies, but you cannot afford to risk the family line by risking your monarch in rash battles. Hey, that wasn't rash. We were attacking rebels in Aquitaine. It's very different. All right, Fort in Toulouse has been finished. Thank freaking God. Looks like I lost 2 more governors too in that last round of battles, which is a shame. So, like, I had a lot of those archer units that were in that battle were governors actually. So, man, that's a shame. I actually lost like a couple archers, or like a couple governors in that freaking siege battle. That's so lame. Oh, whatever. All right, bunch of forts are finished. And hey, there we go. So the Germans have accepted my offer of an alliance. Yeah, there we go. And they hope the alliance will last long, giving both nations a respite from the urgency of war and a chance to use our resources wisely. I concur. And hey, there we go. Hey, what a great turn. The Aragonese have accepted your offer of an alliance. The marriage of your daughter to his new heir brings new friendships and prosperity to our kingdoms. Huzzah. So that's it for my neighbors. I have rebels as my neighbors and allies in the Aragonese and the Germans. And I have another son on the way. He will mature in 16 years. Yes, huzzah. So Prince Felipe, secret blackmailer. That's not a good one. So he has a habit of using blackmail against political enemies. Only the victims are aware of this, and they're not talking. So anytime there's a secret thingy before the trait, that means that it doesn't matter yet, but it will matter once it's discovered. Now, these can be discovered. I think they can be discovered naturally. Ooh, actually, I'm just having like a brain implosion moment right now. I thought my entire Medieval 1 career, I had thought that having secrets uncovered was just kind of a natural thing that happened eventually. But I know that spies do it. You can spy on enemy generals and uncover secret thingies that, can be bad, obviously. And so I had always just thought that when that happened to my own people, that it was just happening naturally. I'm just now realizing that that's probably enemy spies doing that to my, oh my God, I'm just now putting that together. I thought this entire time that secrets would always just eventually come out. But those are always, the entire time, they were always probably just spies uncovering my dirty laundry. Oh man, wow, that's funny. Anyway, so secret blackmail is a bad one. My guy will be losing loyalty eventually. And this is my heir. He's next in line. So like, he's important. And secret blackmailer. So when this is discovered, that means he's going to be losing 3 loyalty. So depending on what his loyalty already is at, that could be very devastating. Anyway, killer instinct. So he has a talent for killing, making him quite effective on the battlefield and discomfiting those who stand against him. Plus 2 valor, plus 1 dread. So when he's king, the dread's going to be increasing the loyalty in all my provinces. In the valor, it's going to be making him a better fighter and killer. So that part's good. What kind of man is he though? That's what I want to know. Where is he down here? So he has 5 loyalty. That means when he loses 3, he's going to be down to 2 loyalty. Wait, I'm looking at the wrong guy. Jesus. Oh, that's such dog shit. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. I mean, everything else about him is great. But yeah, when that secret is... So the good news is this. Spies are a very... well, not very, but like they're relatively high tier in this game, which is kind of funny. Actually, shit, man, this guy's good. 4-star, not bad. Good acumen, really. 6 acumen's not bad. 4 dread, yeah, 2 binding me. But yeah, man, it's just the loyalty that sucks ass. Anyway, so I was saying about spies. Spies are a tier 3 agent. You can't get spies until you have a freaking castle, which, as I was saying in the last episode, how many turns is that? It's a lot. It's a lot of turns. The castle itself is like 16 or 20 turns. I can't remember. 16, maybe 16. It's a lot. Like if you just want to text straight up to spies, you have to really dedicate yourself to that in one province for quite some time. So I usually don't get around to doing it until a little bit later into the campaign. And this is risky. This is a good test to see if the thing that I just thought of, my little epiphany moment, this is a good test to see if that's true. Okay? If the spies are the only thing that can discover and reveal these secret traits, then we have nothing to worry about for quite some time. Okay? Because no one else is going to be getting spy. I mean, they're not going to be picking up to freaking castles right away. So, am I willing to experiment and risk that? See, the thing is, again, for those of you who are new to this game, the way to like just deal with people's bad loyalty is to keep them in the same stack as their king, and then you won't have any issues with that. It's always the leader of the stack that matters, right? And the king is always going to be the leader of his stack. So that's what's important here. Even if I were to put him in a stack under these guys, I think that they would take precedent because they are higher command stars. I'm pretty sure that they would take precedent over him. And as long as their loyalty is good, we should be good. Yeah, he's great. So, yeah, how close are you to dying? You're 40, so you're getting in that range. So maybe like 17 years left. Usually like around 57 is when they start to croak. Sometimes earlier. Yeah, it's risky. It's risky, but I think that I do... Let's see here. All right, let me think about this. So let me go on a different tangent for a second. When it comes to my alliances, I've found in my testing that the Germans are pretty gosh darn good allies. I really have not had too many issues with them. They seem to be pretty busy with the Poles and maybe even the Italians. And just dealing with them is typically a lot of work for them. And it's typically the Aragonese that don't seem to have too many qualms with betrayal. So that begs the question then, because I have a decision to make. I need to start teching up right away to get ready to build boats and to make my crusade against Tripoli. And I need to get there, it's like 1140 or something, 1150 at the latest. I have to do the math. I really should do the math before I start doing the next episode. But I need to start teching up as fast as freaking possible. And to get boats are tier 2 items. So I have to tech up straight up to keeps immediately in every single province that borders the sea. So for me, that's going to be Toulouse, Aquitaine, Brittany, Normandy, and Flanders, leaving Anjou, Ile-de-France, and Champagne as my 3 core territories. Okay, so now there's a few things to keep in mind here. One, I have a massive border. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 provinces that make up my border territories. That is a massive amount of territory to defend. If I had a standing army in all 6 provinces, that would bankrupt me. And so typically in Total War strategies, the idea is to have your initial blitz keep going until you can reduce your borders, right? That's just kind of like Total War 101, or probably even War 101. However, what I really like about these Western and Central European starts is that they make that very difficult, because this is kind of like a border mess. How do you reduce this? It's really tricky, and I don't think that, I'm no geometry genius, but I don't think it's worth really trying to blitz into reducing this. I'd rather keep the Germans cool. This is all dead. There's no factions up here anymore, and it's just the Aragonese are going to be an issue, and they can threaten Toulouse and Aquitaine. Okay, so I should probably put, if I were to station 2 armies anywhere in my entire empire, they should probably be in Toulouse and Aquitaine, and everywhere else can probably chill out until if the English reemerge. Okay, so that way I can reduce my garrison upkeep. And in addition to that, what I want to do, and this is something that I've never done before for any factions, is I want to tech straight up to keep in every single place. The fact that I took the time to build a watchtower in Normandy and Anjou was just based off emergency, really. I just needed to keep that population loyalty as high as possible. But other than that, I want to skip all this shit and just go straight to keep. I can afford it. It's 1,000 florins. I got 6,000 in the treasury. So let's go keep there. Let's go fort there. And Anjou. And let's go keep here in Brittany. You're still building the fort in there. You're still building the keep. Let's go keep here. And let's go fort, I think. See, I'm tempted to start moving these men down. Well, as I was saying, down to, Toulouse and Aquitaine to keep the Aragonese honest. So, yeah, let's go for it. Let's just skip that watchtower. Yeah, we can keep the taxes. We can keep the loyalty above 120. Easy enough. And in the places that have forts, now we can at least train 1 peasant unit. So at least we're going to have a garrison there. At least we have something that if anyone does attack us, which, that would suck, But now that the peasant's going to be there in the next turn, then they can at least retreat to the fort and then buy me more time to respond to that attack. If the, for instance, if the Germans or the Aragonese were to attack Toulouse, I will at least have something to fall back to. And yeah, same thing here in Champagne. I can train up a peasant there. Brittany, I can do the same. And then here's going to be the idea is that even once I get these keeps going, which, it's going to be, that's 8 turns, it takes a while. I'm going to spend the time on getting the first tier defensive upgrade for a keep is going to be I can't remember, is it called a curtain wall or a stone wall or something? Whatever it's called. What it is, it's a stone wall that surrounds the keep, because the keep itself is surrounded by a wooden wall on the outside, I think. But then I can't remember exactly. I remember the gates are pretty badass. The issue though is that for that wider wooden wall, as I was saying with the fort, anything can just go up to it and hack it down. Anything. Infantry, peasants can just hack that shit down. And it's not, kind of makes the whole point of defending it pointless, because they don't have to go through the gate. They can just hack down the other side of the wall that's not being defended by the gate. So there's not going to get any burning oil poured on them. So that's smart, right? If they have any archers, they can just shoot flaming arrows at it and burn it down. So having that stone wall makes it is such an upgrade. All of a sudden, just like that, you've made it so that units can't hack it down with their freaking swords and torches. They can't burn it down with their arrows. They need to either A, have artillery, which at this stage, you can get ballistas at a tier 1. You can, but as we've seen, they're limited in their effectiveness. And if you're building ballistas, it takes 2 turns per ballista to build it. If you're building ballistas, you're not training other shit. So, it's kind of like, screw you. You want to spend your time building that, then that sucks for you. Catapults are tier 2. Okay, so you need a keep to build catapults, right? That's going to be a better piece of equipment for destroying keeps, but that takes time to get up to that. So having that stone wall keep thing, defensive upgrade, is so enormous, and it makes it so that in theory, I can reduce my garrisons to a tiny, tiny amount. And this is something that I've been experimenting in my previous campaigns, as the Egyptians and the English and even the Danes a little bit, where I was reducing garrisons to see what would happen and see how the campaign would play. Well, I still kept full garrisons in the back because I'm a coward. And I was doing this much later in the campaign, just again as an experiment, because I'm so uncomfortable using this kind of tactic. I typically like to build up, armies and actually defend myself like a normal person. But in this campaign, because I got such enormous... See, the thing is, as the English, you can, you don't need to take Ile-de-France, or you don't need to take, well, what did I have? Yeah, I didn't have this 6 province thing. I didn't have Toulouse. I had Aquitaine and Anjou, Ile-de-France, and Flanders. 4 is way less than 6. I know it seems like it's only 2 less than 6, but no, it's way more less than 6 than 6. So it's a different thing playing as the English, at least the way that I did. This is 2 more provinces. There's so many more provinces to have to, garrison and defend. And by the time I had those provinces as the English, I had the economy of the islands, and all this shit to really support that. Whereas as the French, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm not going to be pushing through England. I'm going to be focusing just on this shit and just building up my keeps, my navy, and getting those crusades going against the Levant. So that's my thinking. Yeah, that's my idea. So I have to replace my goddamn governors again. Flanders, I think, so you're the Grand Chamberlain. So you're the one I want to be the governor of Flanders, right? Grand Chamberlain, that's giving I like that you can hover over it and it tells you what this is. Yeah, +2 loyalty, +2 high command. Good. And that's going to be giving 3 loyalty. Oh, and it's just so you know, in case you are new to this game, you can't give governor titles to family members. So I can't just boost my son's loyalty by giving him a title. It's super lame. I don't know why they did that. Because historically, they totally did that. So yeah, it's confusing. It is. Anyway, all right. So you're going to do that. So we're looking at 410. Doopy doo. Yeah, 650. Yeah, hell yeah. That's good. That's some good dough. Yeah, bring it up to 820. 120% on that line that I was talking about. So let's just bring that down into the save level. Make that 722. That's fine. Now, I haven't actually done the math on all of my spending in this turn to make sure that I'm going to be able to afford all of these things. It might be kind of tight, but I feel like we should be fine. How many keeps am I building? Building 2 keeps, 3 keeps, so that's 3,000. And then I'm building 2 forts, so 3,800. And then a handful of units. Yeah, we should be fine. That should be fine. Yeah, we're making 1,800. We're looking good. And one last thing. Since I do have a son now who's of age and who's marriageable. And again, for those of you who are new to this game. So like when people do, here's the thing. This son of mine will not seek a wife on his own until he becomes king, which, as we've discussed before, could be 17 years from now, possibly. And, you know, by then he's going to be, you know, older. And that's going to mean that in the time that he has before he dies, he has to A, find a wife, and then, you know, B, produce a son, and then C, have that son grow to be of age before he dies. And that can be cutting it pretty close in that time frame. You know, either one of those 3 steps could actually kind of like take a while. You know, he might not find a wife right away. He might not produce a son right away. So yeah, it can be a little bit dicey. So it's really important, I would say, to be proactive in getting your sons married yourself, your own damn self. Put the work in, and that's what you do. That's what you use your emissaries for. You use your emissaries and you find wives. Now, one thing, there is a German princess right here. We could talk to her. Now, when it's us who is making the offer, like when it's us that are the ones that are, you know, being the ones asking the king for his daughter's hand in marriage, that does not come with an alliance. We're just trying to get the daughter to marry into our family. When it's them offering their daughter, as we did to the Aragonese, that comes with an alliance. So it's kind of interesting. If you, for instance, get that offer from someone, but you don't want that alliance, then you might want to decline that initial offer, but then come back to them with an emissary saying, "Hey, I hold on, I do want to marry your daughter, just not, I don't want that baggage." So in this case, I already have that alliance with the Germans and the Aragonese, and there's a chance that the Spanish do take Navarre. And I see there is a Spanish princess right down here in Burgundy. She's also closer than the German princess. So let's go talk to her. And we will see what the Spanish think of us. So that's going to be that. I think, yeah, I'm training peasants everywhere that I can train peasants. That's looking good. And everyone is happy. I have a new keyboard, so like, it's great. I love this new keyboard, but it's a little bit smaller than what I'm used to. So I have to be very careful when I'm hitting that shift key to check my loyalty in provinces, making sure that I'm not hitting the enter key to end the turn. So yeah, sometimes it gets a little bit weird. And also, well, we're waiting for this. Okay, so the Germans are the richest, huh? Good for them. And hey, we got another son on the way. Huzzah. Okay, so for those of you who are new to the channel and, you know, after watching these first couple of episodes, you might be thinking, hey, this is pretty action-packed stuff. We got to see a couple of battles, you know, bang, bang, boom, boom, looking pretty good. But actually, so from here on out, for quite some time, unless anything very, very bad happens, we're just going to be playing City Builder and Ship Builder for a while. Yeah, the action's going to really slow down, which is fine by me, but if that's not your style, then obviously I don't want to waste your time. I will say though, check out check out Count MRVHS because he's the only other YouTuber that I'm aware of that consistently plays Medieval 1 Total War. Right now he's playing as the Vikings in Viking Invasion, so that's pretty fucking awesome. And his playing styles are very different than mine. We both do play Glorious Achievements. So it's kind of interesting that you can have two people play Glorious Achievements but have very, very different play styles. I've in some ways I've tried to emulate his play style, but it's more like his play style is more art than science, and I'm just too methodical. I can't. It's one of those things. It's just you have to be born with it, and he was born with it. I can't do what he does. But I have like a very I'll say this much about my style. I think that my style is more teachable, and his style's not. So like, I'll say that much. But yeah, definitely like a bit more action packed. A little bit, like not he's not always in fighting either. But I just wanted to give him a little bit of a plug in case, as I've if this isn't your style, then go ahead and check him out. Now the Almohads are asking for an alliance, and I see no reason to not accept this. I know it can be kind of weird to accept alliances from Muslim factions. The thing is, the Almohads, for those of you who don't know, they are the the Berber people, I suppose you could say, from the Maghreb. They're based in Morocco. In this game, they also have Algeria and Tunisia. They have Cyrenaica in this game, which is too much. I don't think they ever had any. Algeria and Tunisia I can see. Cyrenaica is like too far for them. And then they start off with Granada and Cordoba as well. So they don't own any of the Crusade objectives that I'm going to be going for. Now, I yes, any Catholic faction, well, not any Catholic faction, but the Crusadian Catholic factions can crusade against the Almohads because they are not Catholic. But I don't see myself going to war with them, and honestly, it might be kind of nice to have a kind of a counterweight to the Iberian factions that are going to be bordering me. So yeah, I'll accept it for now. And if it causes issues down the line, I can always dump the alliance. A few turns later, we have ourselves another heir who has matured. This is going to be Prince Jean. And yes, he's going to be my second, my spare, as it were. So we can check in on him in a moment. And now our first keep has been finished here in Ile-de-France. So that is very good news. And yes, the fort in Flanders as well. I'm glad. I think that might be our last fort. Aquitaine as well. Yeah, there we go. Yep. Yes, so Deus Vult. Yes, this is the big moment. So the Pope has convened a council at the town of Clermont and preached a mighty sermon, calling upon all the faithful to come to the defense of Christianity and to recapture the holy city of Jerusalem. Many listening gave vows on the spot to undertake these holy tasks. And yes, the Hungarians want an alliance? Yeah, sure, why not? Just say yes to everyone. Right now we can. So King Philip I, so builder. So yes, from building a bunch of buildings, now every province gets plus 10 happiness, which is great. Yes, that's going to help me bump up the taxes a bit in all of my provinces. And just so you know, like I'm doing this off camera, I check my taxes every single turn to see what I can get away with, making sure that every province is above 120% loyalty. Even the ones that weren't previously English, I know it's a bit more of just me being anal, but just, there you go. But yeah, I check it every turn. I do that like every turn throughout the entire campaign. I do that. Even once it gets to the point where I don't need to do that anymore, I just make sure. So Prince Jean is only going to get one trait, which is, interesting. Pride. So he has a habit of killing staff members who prove him wrong and is now widely known. And so he finds it impossible to get anyone to serve him, as you'd imagine. However, his legendary pride does make him formidable in combat. So -2 command, -2 acumen, +3 valor. So he's an idiot, but he's a good fighter. So, ugh. And Lord of Boulogne, very honest, +1 morale, +1 loyalty. Hell to the yeah, that's awesome. That's great. +1 morale, that's for every unit in his army. That's great. That's in addition to his leadership stuff. And is he the, is that your only trait? No shit. Okay. Still. And honestly, this is kind of a decent little rebel army up here. Rebels aren't exactly inactive. They can attack you, and so that's why I've just been keeping a bit more forces up here than I want to be doing. Just to make sure that the shit doesn't happen again. I don't want to lose Flanders, especially when I was in the middle of building a fort, you know? So yeah, it's a bit haggard, but ideally I can start to get more forces down here. Although, ooh, so the Aragonese must have captured Valencia because the king is not here. So yeah, they must be down here in Valencia. Interesting. All right, good for them. So let's check on Prince Jean. So yeah, 3 loyalty. Oh, god damn. 2-star general. It's too bad. If he didn't have that pride trait, he would be a 4-star. You know? And if he, oh man, he's 5 acumen. That's with losing 2 acumen. He could have been a 7-star or 7 acumen dude. God damn. Only you weren't so prideful. Darn it. I feel like there's a lesson here that I could be taking for myself. I can't see it though. Anyway, so do I keep all the sons and the dad together? I don't know. I don't know about that. What I'm thinking is putting them in the other 2 hotspots so I can have a unit of heavy cav. If I'm right, and they are going to be serving under these, you know, more competent generals, then there shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, I just have to get you to Flanders and you can hang out in Toulouse, and then at least we have a unit of heavy cav in every place that's like, you know, more important. You know, assuming that my borders with the Germans should be quiet borders, hopefully. Are they at war with anyone yet? They are not. Okay, hopefully that changes soon. They are allies with the Poles, but they're not allies with the Italians. Dun, dun, dun. And I think, are you still trying to find a wife for me? You better fucking get your shit together, dude. The Spanish princess, she got married off, and then the Germans declined. You're trying to talk to the Aragonese, and she's in Burgundy. All right, you just stay on task. Stay on task. I could, you know, have them talk to the Italians or the Novgorodese, but I'd rather. I don't know if this does anything to, like, you know, continue to keep ties going after you have the alliance. But just in case it does mean something, I would rather get, you know, married to an Aragonese princess over a Novgorod or an Italian princess. Oh, and I have another princess who has come of age as well. I think she just came of age. Yeah. Princess Margaret. So I can, as I was just saying, I could send her somewhere. Oh, actually, oh, do I have any generals? I could marry her to my own generals. I don't want to marry her to her own brother. You can actually do that. I just don't because that's gross, but you can do that. And there are incest traits in this game. They have nothing to do with whether or not you marry your siblings together. Has nothing to do with that. It's just random. You might just get an incest trait and it fucking sucks. It's like the pride trait. Like you lose a lot from those incest traits and they get worse. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, and it's just has nothing to do with whether or not you actually marry your kids together. This is the upgrade that I was talking about, the curtain wall. Yeah, this thing's a beast. So a curtain wall adds an extra layer to the keep's defenses, improving its ability to withstand a siege, because in times of war, many arms, stores, and local people can be brought inside the walls to support the defenders. This reduces the attrition rate of the defenders during a siege. Is that actually true? Because that would imply that defensive upgrades increase the amount of holdout time for garrisons, but I don't know if that's actually true. I feel like siege holdout time only has to do with the garrison size itself, the more mouths to feed, because each level of fortification can only hold a certain amount of people. Actually, does this actually tell me down here? It should. So this can be garrisoned with 420 people for a keep, right? And for cavalry, that's 2 mouths. So it doubles it or halves it or whatever. So like if you keep 420 people in here, then you're going to get a situation like what I had in Aquitaine, where they starve out in 2 turns, and that's the lowest amount. It's never just 1 turn. It's always, it'll say 1 turn or it'll say 1 year, but it's actually 1 year, and then it'll say it's about to fall. So it's actually 2 turns. And I feel like that only has to do with the garrison size. I don't think I've ever seen defensive upgrades add more time to holdout time. Am I wrong about that? I don't think I am, but let me know. But yeah, for two turns and 200 florins, this is a frickin' steal. I'm going to be building this everywhere. In the very next turn, we have the Peasant Crusade. So Peter the Hermit and his fellow zealot, the Pauper Knight, Walter the Penniless, have roused the peasantry and simple folk. These two have convinced many to go on a crusade, secure in the fact that God will give them victory over infidels. All farm income in France is reduced by 1/10. And again, it's like, all right, first off, what is that exactly, you know, is that like is that everything I own? And then secondly, is that the entire campaign or is that like 1 turn? Like, what does that mean? I don't know. It's just this doesn't really tell us much, right? But it sucks. That definitely sucks. And here we are. Finally, okay, the Novgorods are proposing marriage to my dude. And I would prefer to marry the Aragonese princess for the reasons I already stated. But I want to get this guy married. That's more important to me, I would say. And yeah, we're going to get an alliance with the Novgorods. Again, I'm fine with that. And frankly, what also I should be doing, you know, shoot. I was going to send my princess to go to the Levant to check things out. But now that the Spanish own Navarre, let's go talk to them and try to ally with them. In fact, I should have already done that. Because, you know, knowing that that they were going to probably be my neighbors. So yeah, going to talk to them is pretty important. So hopefully I can get an alliance with them. I will say that these parts of the campaigns I actually do find really enjoyable, even though they are in some sense low intensity. They kind of, in some sense, they're like high tension. You know, they kind of feel like the first half hour of a horror film where you're like, oh man, where's the monster? Where's the monster? And it, you know, but it kind of lures you to sleep a little bit. The thing is that the order that I do these things and the way that I prioritize, you know, my builds is very, very important. The way that I do this, you know, to get this right and to make sure that I can accomplish my goals here. But by keeping my garrisons low, man, oh man, it really does keep things pretty tense with my neighbors. And, you know, even the neighbors that I'm allied with, you know, you never know. So I find this interesting while also, you know, enjoyable at the same time. And I'm looking forward to continuing this. And I'm really glad that I was able to figure this part out and just kind of take back Flanders. I was nervous about that. Once those archers started to like just kind of kite me, I was like, oh fuck, this sucks. Fighting that without Cav just freaking sucked, but whatever. That got done. And I'm looking forward to the next episode. So until next time, this has been Kana Sip playing Medieval Total War. Thank you all for watching and peace.